If people really knew me, they would know that I am a mess. I'm a put-together mess that appears happy and confident. But underneath that mess is brokenness, pure brokenness. If people really knew me, they would know that I cry a lot. People would know that I like to be held and comforted. One of my good friends one time asked me, "Monica, are you always happy? You light up the world around you." I looked her in the eye and said, "I am clinically depressed. I contemplated suicide when I was in 5th grade. I hate my body. I constantly judge myself. And I was even kicked out of an eating disorder rehabilitation facility for being a hopeless case." And that's only a small fraction of it all. She said, "Good. I was worried you weren't human." I deceive people into thinking that I am a generally happy person. I do not consider myself to light up rooms. If people really knew me, they would know that how far I've come is practically a miracle. That nobody believed I would make it past my sophomore year of high school. But I did, and I proved people wrong. If only people knew.
I got married when I was 19. I couldn't get enough food. I rejected real food as fattening or undeserving. But then I would get so hungry, I couldn't think or work. I was in a starvation-deprivation cycle. I would pride myself on not eating the 2 cups of raisins and the oatmeal cookies. Look at the calories I saved. We would buy a box of ice cream. I would finish it in secret and have to go to the store to replace it and eat down to the original amount. When I went for a gynecological checkup, the provider waved me and said, "What does your husband think?" I was shamed behind closed doors. I knew I was trying to fill some insatiable hole inside me, never to be filled with food. In college, I was heavier. I felt enormous shame and tried to hide my body. I made a huge dress out of tiny gingham plaid, hoping it would hide me. Instead, it made me look 10 times bigger than I was.
I put my family through a lot when I was in the midst of my eating disorder, Ed. We did a meal reenactment with my nutritionist. My parents brought all the supplies for the meal, and we ate in the therapeutic kitchen. I did what I always did. I argued, I screamed, I criticized, I begged, I cried, and I refused to eat. Looking back, it's no wonder my siblings don't have any particular interest in bonding with me anymore. I scarred them, so they shut me out. My parents were literally coached on what they could say to me. I'm sure they must have been afraid to say anything around me. I was so focused on what they said about me and my body that they didn't dare talk much about themselves in front of me. I'm thinking now about all the stress and pain I put them through. I've never said sorry to them, not once. I'm still waiting for the moment to come when I can tell them I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. No parent should ever have to go through the hell that I put them through. I'm trying this new perspective on. It hurts and it's hard because I want to blame them for what happened to me, but maybe it's not their fault after all. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry.
overeating by studying the impact of what it was doing to me. I got therapy. I'm not cured, but I can see the signs of emptiness now and can start filling that space with good things.
When did I beat Ed? There was no moment. I'm still waiting for a moment to come. I have not beat Ed. I will never beat Ed. I will overcome it instead, but maybe not. I don't really know how normal people think. From what I can tell, our entire society has an eating disorder, some more than others. I like to think of myself as out of practice with Ed. It's like practicing medicine. After you retire, you still have the qualifying brains and knowledge, but you wouldn't perform open heart surgery voluntarily. I'm out of practice from my eating disorder. The thoughts still pop up, but just like a surgeon out of practice, I wouldn't just randomly decide not to eat anymore. I was kind of forced into recovery in some aspects. The deal was I could be at boarding school as long as I stayed healthy. As long as I stayed a healthy weight and continued therapy. After my parents separated, I had to take care of my mom. I just didn't have time for Ed anymore. I didn't have time to be sick. I got tired of fighting myself and others every day. This was the start of when I went out of practice. My time in remission, you could call it. I hiccuped a lot, of course. But the more time I spent out of practice, the harder it became to go back. Having my first serious boyfriend helped. It made it that much harder to go backwards because he really wasn't about that kind of life. All this helped me put Ed on pause. Every now and again, I press play. In all honesty, I don't think it's possible to hit stop or erase. Once you've got it, you'll have it for life.
I've never been stylish or fashionable. I don't like sparkles and dangles. But when I see friends dressed up, I think, I want to look like that. When I try, I feel foolish, like an imposter or fake. I want to be seen as glowing from somewhere inside, but I can't let myself be that. I dress to not be noticed. I don't think I look bad until I look in the mirror. It doesn't stop me from participating, but I enter a situation feeling minimized, not fully there with all that I am. I hope that what I'd left was the weighty part of me, but really what I left was the funny, interesting part of me. What gets in the way of just being good enough? A life of indoctrination about body shame. How do I respectfully eliminate it? I'm not a doormat to be stomped on. I don't wish to long for admiration or love. I do look in the mirror at times and feel acceptable until I think of going into the world and having to live up to someone else's expectation or judgment. The results of my labor are gratifying, and I feel powerful when I connect in a soulful way with another. Then I don't think of hating my body or feeling it is inadequate.
I have to put on this happy face a lot of the time. However, I don't know if I purposefully act happy when I'm actually feeling broken inside. This mess will always be here. It will always be a part of me. A part of me wants to forget and drop my messes and broken pieces behind me, but then I would be lying to myself and others about who I truly am. I would rather be a broken deception of happiness as opposed to a denying deception of happiness. I am okay with temporary bursts of happiness, leading others to believe
I have no broken pieces or problems, because not everyone needs to know. Not everyone needs to see underneath my smiles. That knowledge is to be shared on another day, to another person.